Well, time to feed these hungry, gamers. Gotta feed them. So, all right, okay. We got Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? Okay, all right, 1 and 2, right? And I think they're working on 3, right? Okay, all right. So now they want to make a Vagrant Story in Final Fantasy Tactics. You're like, huh? What? Oh, by the way, hello viewers. Another beautiful day. Yeah. Hope your 5 senses work. Health and strength is good. Or excellent. So, what's up? eTechMix? .com, that is. It says there, Yoshi P says he would like a re-release of Vagrant Story in Final Fantasy Tactics. Okay, Yoshi P. Well, we got the hardware now to make the video games. Back in the PlayStation 1 days, most of the games we played were open world games. We just didn't have the hardware. So now that we got the hardware and software now, yeah, can't talk about it no more. Just got to do it. Anyway, I'm joking though. And look, listen to this. It says here, more than 20 years after the launch of Vagrant Story, many are still dreaming of the return of the RPG masterpiece centered on the character of Ashley Riot, and even Nokai Yoshida admits to being a big fan. That makes 2 of us. I'm a big fan of Vagrant Story. Anyway, Yoshi P would be able to witness and maybe participate in the return of the cult RPG. And then it says, reflecting on the RPG classic subtopic, says here, in an interview with 4Gamers, thanks to Genki JPN, the Japanese master took the opportunity to rewind the tape of memories and fantasies about the great turn of Vagrant Story, and another significant role-playing game experience tinge with strategic elements. During the interview, Yoshi P candidly admits, I am a fan of Yashumi Matsuno, so I want to leave Vagrant Story and Final Fantasy Tactics to future generations so that they can always be played on any platform. Yeah, you Steam Deck fans are spoiled. But anyway, says here, to be honest, I don't have much interest in remakes or a remaster, but I think it's very important that a masterpiece can be played properly with the taste of the time, meaning today's time. Says here, Yoshi P passion for preserving iconic RPG like Vagrant Story and Final Fantasy Tactics is a testament to the lasting impacts of these games. Fans of classic role-playing adventures can only hope that Yoshida dreams will one day come true, giving new generation the chances to dive into the magic and depth of these legendary titles just as they were meant to be experienced. Well, if you look at Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story, Vagrant Story was real nice. I wish it was on the Wii. I wish it was on the Wii U so I could utilize the tablet. But anyway, Vagrant Story is like it's like a mix between Zelda and what's another game I can think of here? It has some Zelda elements to it, but when you get into the boss battles, you got to bring up that screen and then figure out where do you want to hit the boss, where do you want to attack him at, whether it's from his head or his neck, or if you're fighting a dragon, you want to hit him on the wing or something like that. You get the point. But anyway, Vagrant Story, and of course there's Final Fantasy Tactics. So with the hardware that we have now, when it comes to video games, like I said before, most of those games that we play back in the 8-bit days, 16-bit days, 32-bit days, 64-bit days, they were open world. We just didn't have the hardware for to utilize those games. But now that we have them, can't talk about it no more. got to make it happen. So while they're at it, since they're talking about Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story, you might as well want to do a remake of you might as want to do Xenogears while you at it, because there's a fan base for that game. You know, Xenogears, that was on the PS1. So yeah. And while you're at it too, you might as well want to do a Parasite Eve while you're at it. You know, since you're talking about, since Yoshi P talking about Vagrant Story and Final Fantasy Tactics, you wanna add Parasite Eve and Xenogears to the list. Just saying. So yeah, and they're talking about bringing it to any platform now. Well, with so many with the Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, of course the portable PCs, whether it's the Steam Deck, the Asus ROG, Lenovo, MSI Claw, Odin, Oxo, Zotac, Orange Pi, yeah, ANEO, 1X, GPD, yeah, desktop, laptop, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when those games were on the PlayStation 1, Sony reaped the benefits of Nintendo's issue when Nintendo was sitting there trying to play, was messing with cartridge, and at the same time trying to hold the game industry back and play conservative. Sony reaped the benefit of Nintendo's mistake. So Sony built their PlayStation user base off the PlayStation 1. With all those games, because Squaresoft was under Sony's umbrella, and once they brought Final Fantasy to the forefront, man, to the forefront, it opened the door for RPGs. And then you had Enix; they were a separate studio by themselves. And then you had Work Design, and then you had Namco, and they had all kind of RPGs on the PlayStation 1. So PlayStation 1, Sony with PlayStation 1 reaped the benefits of all that, and they built a huge user base off that, just off those, Sony inheriting Square. And once the developers saw what CDs can do when it comes to video games, they followed suit. So like, for every one game that Nintendo was getting, and since it was easier to make the games on CDs, yeah, PlayStation was getting between 5 or 6 or even a game, per game, So yeah, they opened the floodgates, man, and yeah, they built a huge user base, man. It was huge. So all those games that the PS1 had, and with the hardware that we have now, oh yeah, most of those games need to come back, probably in an open world form. I mean, if they're going to do that, they Sony might as well do a Legend of Dragoon open world. Just saying. Or what else they had? Or what? I'm thinking of what was it, Siphon Filter or whatever. But yeah, but PlayStation 1 had some bangers back in the day, man. So yeah, they opened the gates, man, and with the hardware with the hardware that we have now, and plus software, those games need to be brought back up to today's standard, because the hardware that they had back then, they were being held back and they were limited in what they could do. So yeah, they had to use what they have and try to utilize it. But the hardware that they have now is 10 times better than what they had back then, So yeah, you're talking CDs that holds 650 megabytes of information, say 700, compared to a Blu-ray disc now that's up to 100 gigs in storage. See the difference? Yeah, so a lot of those games that you played back on PlayStation or Sega Saturn, yeah, they need to be brought back up to today's standard, So, so Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story, if they make a game, if they make those games, man, it will be 3 disc, like just like it will be big as Final Fantasy 7. It will be that big. So yeah, because you got to think if you look at the map, okay, of Final Fantasy Tactics, and then you look at the map of our Vagrant Story. That map was like kind of condensed. So now with the hardware we got now, you can open up that map and you'll really find out how big that game really is. The areas that you couldn't explore, the areas that were inaccessible, the area, yeah, those buildings, yeah, and those maps or whatever town, city, countryside, wherever you were at, yeah. Those games, man, the maps are actually bigger than what they are. It's just that the hardware was limited back then. So to bring it up to today's standard, yeah, it'll be big as Final Fantasy VII remake. So yeah. So Yoshi P talking about bringing Final Fantasy Tactics and Vagrant Story back. Okay, while you're at it, you might as well bring back Parasite Eve, Xenogears. What's another Squaresoft game I could think of? Chrono Cross. Yeah, Chrono Cross. Anyway, I'm just giving some ideas. But anyway, yeah, video game is in a good place, man. You know, don't let people fool you with the bad news or the bad press. You know, it's in a good spot. So yeah, PlayStation 1 had bangers though, that's for sure. They did. Yeah, yeah, they really did, man. From, I mean, Metal Gear Solid 1, from the Resident Evils. If you still got those games in those cases, man, yeah, they're part of history, you know. So yeah. But back then though, the console was limited. So when you look at a game like let's see, what's one that I could use? Say Resident Evil 1. Raccoon City is actually bigger than what it is. So yeah, you know, so with the hardware we got now, oh yeah. And if you've seen how they did Final Fantasy 7, where is it? Final Fantasy 7. If you've seen how they did Final Fantasy 7 remake, you realize how big those games were when they were on the PlayStation 1. You know, you realize how big they are when you see Final Fantasy 7 remake. You'll see how you will really realize how big those games are. So yeah, on today's consoles, you know, because today's consoles now open up the environment, you know, you know, that the older consoles couldn't do, you know. So yeah, and bring out the details in those environments. So yeah, those games that were on the PlayStation 1, they're bigger than what they are. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this video for y'all to enjoy though. Nice talking to you people again. Chris, those Star Wars Star Trek thing, Dark Section. Oh God. Peace.